Okay, guys, this is patch 11.8. I overslept a lot, so I'm probably not going to be editing this so much, or at all, really, because I need to get these out quickly. So what I did do is, for those of you who like the edits and those of you who like it explained, I decided to go with less of an edited route, because I don't really have time, because again, I overslept. And instead, I decided to write down a notepad and do why is this change happening? What will this change do? Are there any weird factors? And thoughts, if it'll work, if it'll be enough, etc. Basically, I'm going to try to explain these patch notes for those of you who don't understand the game so well, because I do understand the game well enough to hopefully be able to explain it, okay? I'm not going to be going over this from the perspective of like a professional player or anything like that, and instead, I'm just going to be going over this for people that don't play the game a lot. Okay, so, first up, there's Annie. Annie is getting more mana cost on her W early game. It's going up by 20. Rank 5 is the same, but early game is going up from 70 to 90. Annie is overperforming at the low ranks, but is performing about averagely at the higher ranks. I don't really actually think this is the right nerf to do, because Annie is this nerfs her early game, and early game is more important to the higher ranks than the lower ranks. So this change will affect the it'll affect the higher ranks where she's not performing too well at all, and in fact will affect the lower ranks less, where she is overperforming. I guess she did need a nerf, but this one I don't think was the right one at all. Yeah. Her pick rate combo isn't fully out of line. The main thing is going to do is stop her from being able to charge up her passive as much in the laning phase as easily. And I just think that it's just not a great change. So Apheliosis is getting the next one. He's getting a buff to his lethality from his passive. He can choose things when he levels up, and one of them is lethality. So he's getting more lethality, a little bit more per rank, making it a little bit better of an option. He's also getting a buff to his ultimate on everything. Every effect his ult does, it's getting a buff to. So, the thing with Aphelios is he's not performing too well anywhere, but Aphelios is a champion who's fine at like 48% win rate, and even at 49% starts being overpowered again. So he has a low pick rate, decent-ish win rate at the high ranks, but not too much. So what they're doing here is they're giving him a little bit of a buff just overall, and this will probably be enough to push him into being viable at the super high ranks again. But that's about it. I don't think he's going to be viable at the low ranks again. Cassiopeia is stupid. I don't like this change at all. I think this is a dumb change. I just screw this champion. She's dumb. She's really dumb. Mundo's underperforming really hard in the top lane, but performing adequately in the jungle. To try to balance that out, they are giving him more healing against the jungle, because the Q will now heal for fully on enemy hit, and he's getting more health on his passive. That health only is going to be about 6, in fact, not about, it's 6% more health per minute, which is not a lot. And basically he's going to heal for more, and he's going to 25 health every Q when he hits something with it, but the damage against monsters is going down really hard. His E damage is, he's also doing 10 damage on his E. So basically his top lane will be better. His jungle, I think, will actually be about even. The issue right now is he performs too well at the lower ranks, because his jungle is unsafe, but they don't really know how to punish that. But he doesn't perform very well at the high ranks because his jungle is unsafe and he gets punished. So this change and this change will make him healthier, but this change and this change will mean that he clears slower. Gnar is getting a nerf basically to his safety. Gnar is too good. He gets first picked. He's really safe. This nerfs his safety. He gets a slight buff at the late game, and this equals out at level 11. But overall, this is a nerf. Level 1 to 5, he's just getting nerfed, and that's probably good, because his champion's way too safe. And he scales pretty decently. So a very safe pick that scales decently, yeah, it's going to be spam first picked in every situation. And he's going to bully champions that, like, if he's fighting a champion that he can bully, he can just permanently play safe and kite. If he's playing against a champion who he can't bully, then he just plays safe. And this definitely nerfs his ability to just safely kite and bully people, while also nerfs his ability to be safe. And it's just overall a good nerf. Leblanc, they're buffing her early game damage by 20 when she procs her Q. 20, that's pretty large. I don't know why they're pushing LeBlanc so hard. AP Assassins are super snowballing right now, and I don't think... But whatever, I mean, she's low pick, average win rate, which generally means underperforming. I don't think that she, of all champions, should get buffed. There's someone... This is actually what I talk about all the time when I say Ride plays favorites a lot, because there's a lot of champions who are average win rate, low pick rate, but LeBlanc is one of the only ones who's being targeted and buffed like this, and especially 20 damage when she procs her Q on rank 1. So her Q now is 130 damage at rank 1? Yeah. So Lee Sin is too slow at clearing. Buffing his E cooldown will make him better at clearing. I don't think this is really going to affect his ability to fight so much, because Lee Sin typically goes Eclipse and tries to single combo you. So reducing the cooldown from 10 to 8, I likely don't think he'll be able to use it twice in a fight, because he either dies or bursts you down, but it will affect his ability to clear the jungle. And clearing the jungle right now is really popular. I'm not sure I entirely agree with buffing every jungle to now have good clear, but definitely if they were to buff an ability to do that, this is the one, because this will proc the jungle item in an AoE, and he'll probably be able to use it twice on a camp, so he could do raptors and stuff a little bit better. I don't know. It's not actually that bad of a buff. I mean, it's pretty safe, because he likely won't be able to use it twice in a fight, so this is a buff that, in my opinion, will probably only affect his jungling. Okay. Well, I'll just say, I think it'll, I mean, it doesn't seem, I don't really know what I think of the end result. Sometimes with buffs like this, it'll do a lot or a little, but I think this is a pretty safe one. Orianna has low armor and magic resist already, because her E, when she puts her E on herself, she gets tankier because it gives armor and magic resist. Now they're reducing the amount of armor and magic resist she gets when she puts her E on herself. So she's squishier now, which makes her less safe. She was too good in pro play as a safe first pick, and now they're nerfing that. I think this will probably definitely impact that, because that's 6 less armor and magic resist on a, you're saying not 6 less, 4 less on a champion who already had less armor and magic resist. So if you hit her when she's not protecting herself, she still blows up, and now even if you hit her when she's protecting herself, she'll still blow up. This Rammus change, this one, yeah, so basically he's a spam gank, and then win or lose off spamming ganks, right? Because he doesn't scale very well. His ult doesn't do that much right now, and he just kind of falls off if he can't spam gank to win. So what this does is it makes him scale better by giving him something to do outside of just spam ganking, single target people. And you can see here with the nerf to taunt duration, even at rank 1 by a little bit, that'll make his spam ganking worse. They're also reducing the damage from Powerball, and he can get longer defense ball curl. But what this will do is give him the ability to do something in the middle late game, especially in team fights, to be able to jump in. And that's what they're adding. They're adding the ability, his ultimate will allow him to he'll do like this hop. I haven't really seen the stats on it, but Rammus leaps in the air and slams down. So he leaps in, he slams down, he puts down an AoE slow. He will have initiation and stuff, which as a tank is pretty good, right? So yeah, he's worse at spam ganking, but in return he gets something to do in team fights to scale better. Overall, pretty good. I think this is good. They're taking a champion and they're adding something cool to him. I'm sure people that play a lot of Rammus will think to themselves, yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's fun. I like it. Yeah. Rumble. Okay, so Rumble is performing fine / a little bit weak in mid, but performing bad in top. but I'm not really sure why he should be a top laner, considering his long track record of destroying top lane. He has a very long-standing history of poking out top laners, then beating them in the all-in. And it seemed they finally had him in a place where he felt balanced, right? And now they're trying to push him top lane again. And the way they're doing it, they're removing magic resist, but they are adding his passive will now do percent health damage and gave him 50% attack speed, and his E now shreds magic resist. So in addition to giving this guy magic resist shred in a meta where there's already practically no magic resist, he gets percent health damage. So I think that this is a poor decision, and this will potentially lead to Rammus being a top laner again who counterpicks certain champions and just all-in spams them to win. And it won't be fun because you just get continuously poked out, and then if you try to all-in him, he overheats, and you can say, oh, but that's how he has to play well, you know, managing his overheat, but he just manages his overheat, and if you try to all-in him, he overheats and then beats you in the all-in, and I don't know. You can say, oh, Hashinshin, he hasn't done that in years. Why are you afraid of it? Well, the reason I'm afraid of it is because he used to do that, and it's not like he's a fundamentally different champion, so if he goes back to doing that, it won't be fun to fight another one. You know, he historically has been one of these champions who goes top lane, pokes you all day, and then beats you if you try to go for the all-in. So it's just really unfun to fight him when he's good at doing that. And they are deliberately and intentionally buffing the aspect of him I do not enjoy. The bright side, okay, so if I'm trying to look at the positive right now, if I'm trying to be positive about this, a positive is it is a magic damage pick for top lane that yeah, it's a magic damage pick for top lane, with top lane not really having that many magic damage champions viable in top. It might be nice to have one that's viable in top. My issue is that with him not really having that much magic resist, it makes him squishy, right? Especially against magic damage. So he's just going to be a counter pick, which isn't fun because, you know, sometimes you need magic damage in top, looking at your team comp, you know, your team's highlighting Zed, but you don't want to specifically only be a counter pick, right? Like, you don't want to pick Rumble and they go Mord and you're just like, oh, well, you know, well, I guess I die. So, yeah, it also makes him less fun because if I want to play magic damage top laner, I kind of want them to be tanky and a bruiser, you know? Like my ideal magic damage top laner, like, I kind of like Mord. He's not, like, amazing. I don't love playing him, but I would say that he's playable. I don't hate playing him. He's kind of fun, right? But, you know, my ideal top laner is somewhere more along the lines of Mordekaiser. So, I would have preferred they didn't destroy his magic resist if they wanted to take some away. So, but, I mean, he wasn't even that great in mid lane. He was, like, low pick average win rate. So, like, if they wanted to do these changes, like, at least leave his magic resist so he's less, you know, swing and a miss in top line sometimes. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. I'm afraid this will go too far because I'm looking at a magic resist shred and percent health damage and way more all-in power, and I'm going, uh-oh. Oh god, the PTSD. Oh god. Thresh, I said this earlier, actually. Didn't I say this? With Gnar, too. I said on my last videos we'd be back on Thresh and Gnar, and here we are back on Thresh and Gnar. I don't agree with this change because this is still specifically avoiding his Q spam in mid-game team fights that makes him so stupid to fight. I don't know why they enjoyed the aspect of a support champion being able to effectively remove bruisers from a team fight by just spamming them with CC. By mid-game team fights, he'll have this at rank 5, so this nerfs him in bot lane like he needed a nerf, right? But it's like they're keeping the really annoying aspect of him and just making him more difficult to lane with, which just is such a riot thing to do. So I think it'll affect him. Probably, definitely affect him. Vlad. They're buffing his late game. Oh wait, that's right. They're buffing his late game to fix his early game. What member of Riot thought that he needed a late game buff for the early game? a substantial late game buff. They even say here, a champ who used to rush item components for CDR but can no longer do so due to the mythic item. Why are you buffing his late game then? Instead of changing it from 9 to 5 to 9 to 4, make it 8 to 4 then, Riot. Like, if you really need to buff him, but you don't need to buff him. This is just a reactive change due to Ignite lowering his win rate. That's it. He's too unsafe because you go Ignite and run him down and he can't do anything to stop it right now. This champion still scales extremely well and starts one-shotting people in the mid to late game. This is a bad change. This is a really, really bad change. Vladimir is such a... So we have Vladimir and Rumble coming back. This is such a bad change. This is such a bad change. I hate this with every fiber of my being. This is such a bad change. Yorick. Yorick is way underperforming at the low ranks. He's performing adequately at the high ranks. I was a bit wrong. He didn't stay OP at the high ranks, but he stayed viable, right? And the big thing is at the lower ranks, he's still very OP. So what they're doing here is they're nerfing the sustained damage his ghouls do. His ghouls are losing some of their flat damage. His E is being nerfed really hard. Instead of being 100% additional damage, so instead of a 400% damage jump, they now get 40% more damage for the first 8 attacks. So instead of 4 ghouls getting 400% damage on their jump, it's now, if you have 4 ghouls, you get 160% damage. So, you know, instead of an additional 400% damage, it's not 160. What is it? It's 360. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because I did. So instead of 400% additional damage, you now get 360% additional damage, and the ghoul damage was nerfed. The flat damage went down a little bit, and then the scaling damage also went down. So his ghouls got nerfed really hard, and the damage from his E got nerfed really hard. In addition, he needs to take 8 attacks to get there, so he got nerfed really hard. His burst damage went down. Even the sustained damage went down. In return, his Maiden will now get aggro after melee minions and ranged minions. So this actually has several changes. This part here looks really bad. Nerfing his burst and his sustained damage. That's bad. But the Maiden no longer getting turret aggro until it's the last thing alive is really impactful. That means Maiden will no longer get random turret aggro and be able to be killed in the laning phase. And we've seen that even Yorick players, people playing against Yorick, people playing Yorick, you've seen it where the Maiden gets like 3 turret shots because she doesn't leave the turret as quickly as you wanted her to, right? And then the opponent all-ins, kills the Maiden, and you're weak for 3 minutes, right? That's going away. The other thing is that this means that if you hit an enemy with an E, that the Maiden will now be able to aggro them under turret and not get turret aggro. So this actually turns into a decent way to poke and like harass people for that last little bit of their health out of the lane. So this is really impactful. This also means that he can push easier because Maiden won't die to the turret when he's pushing, and this is a really powerful change. So this is a substantial decrease to the power of him being able to kill people, but this is a substantial increase to just reducing the jankiness of the character. People that have played with or against Yorick probably know that the character being janky is a huge detriment to him, and reducing the jankiness and reducing those random, oh, I guess my Maiden's dead moments, that's a big power up. So this overall seems like a fair change. Now, they needed to nerf him at the low ranks while leaving him better at the high ranks. I think they sort of didn't, but they also kind of found a decent way to make him better if you hit... Because if you hit your E on an enemy under turret and the Maiden starts harassing it, right, you can very easily start poking... Like, if they're at half HP, you can start poking them down a little bit and, you know, start actually forcing them out of lane fully. And that seems more of something... that seems more something that's relevant to the higher ranks. So I would definitely say that this is a good change overall because he needed to be nerfed. It definitely removes the jankiness of the character. I don't think he'll be high-ranking viable anymore. But I do think that this is a fair change overall, for sure. Zac is getting most of the damage nerf. His W like 5 years ago used to be 40 to 100. It got way nerfed. I think it was like 15 to 55. But now it's all the way back up to 35 to 95. So his W has gone way, 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 way back up in damage to where it used to be. In addition, the AP ratio got buffed from 2% to 4%. So literally got doubled. You will see a lot more Demonic Embrace on Zac. And potentially the one change I saw that might maybe is you might maybe see Zac top, maybe potentially, I don't know, that you might, just because this makes Conqueror Zac more viable, because by doubling the AP ratio on his W, you're making Conqueror and the AP ratio you get from Conqueror, better by double. Other than that, Zac is underperforming. He's low pick, slightly under par win rate, so that's bad. That means the champion's underpowered. So this increases his jungle clear. This makes Demonic Embrace much better on him. Other AP items potentially, but Demonic Embrace is obviously the one you would mostly be looking at. And this just makes him better. And the flat damage increase also affects his early game, so it makes his ganks better, it makes his top laning trades better, and I think overall, I think that this change, I'm not saying it's going to bring back top Zac, but if something was to bring back top Zac, it would be this one. Just making Conqueror better on him, giving him better trades, and yeah, I don't know. Like I'm split. I'd like to be the one to call it and be like, haha, Hashinshin, you called that. You're so smart. But on the other hand, it's like, I don't think it's really gonna bring back top Zac, but I think it'll make it less troll. Yeah. Definitely, I don't think it'll be enough to make him viable, but I think it'll be enough to push him to where he's no longer just a bad pick who sometimes pops off. As for jungle changes, Darius is too strong top lane. Top lane likes objective control. Top lane likes clearing the jungle. This literally happened before when they buffed his bleed against the jungle when he was already performing too well in the top lane. I 100% guarantee with all my heart we will see Darius very soon getting nerfed. This will buff his top lane. I don't care how jungle Darius won't be viable. I don't care. I don't care about jungle Darius. This makes him overpowered 100%. One of Darius's only weaknesses was his weak objectives and his weak jungle clearing, because other champions could do it better. Like Jax could do it way better, Aurelia could do it way better, York could do it way better, but this makes Darius actually pretty competent at objective control and pretty competent at clearing the jungle, and that was supposed to be one of his weaknesses, was that he couldn't do that. And I guarantee with all my heart we're going to see Darius probably go to 53 win rate and finally eat another nerf here. Guarantee it. Diana, same thing. Performing extremely well in the mid lane. And here's the thing. Buffing her attack speed this is not a jungle buff. This isn't a whole Diana buff. This doesn't just affect the jungle. I don't know why they're listing this under jungle champion changes. They're doubling her level 1 bonus attack speed. Unless I'm not understanding something, this is a substantial buff to this character. I 100% guarantee we're seeing a Diana nerf. This patch or the next. Well, next patch or the one after that. I mean, well, this patch already happened, so you know what I mean. These two, but write it down. Write it down. These champions are being nerfed. Mordekaiser, I don't care. Mordekaiser sucks as a jungle. This makes him slightly better as a top laner because he can objective control better and he can clear the jungle better. Probably fair because Mord is slow and has no mobility, so being able to clear objectives faster and force the opposing team to come out and have to fight him makes him a better pick, better champion. Being able to potentially run away and just kill the Rift Herald, or threaten being able to do Rift Herald with his jungler better and force fights, that makes him better. It's a good change. I'm looking at most of these from the perspective of top lane or mid lane because I don't think this will affect top lane. At least these won't affect the jungle. They will affect top lane and mid lane. I think I said they won't affect top lane. They will affect top lane. These two nerfed 100%, more viable. Zed, jungle Zed was kind of a fringe pick. Barely, if ever, got picked. I mean, like maybe 0.1% pick rate. Sort of, kind of, in a way, maybe worked, I guess, maybe. This kind of pushes it. It gives Zed a lot more objective control, though, when he goes mid lane. Zed's already performing very well, and oh, hey, what's that? Another champion who's performing very well, getting a substantial buff to objective control and jungle clear. Yeah, we'll probably see a Zed nerf after this. Big surprise. A part of me wonders if Riot is doing this intentionally, just so they can say they buffed the champion before nerfing them to make sure the people maining that champion couldn't complain as much. Basically, his passive will no longer have a cooldown against minions or monsters, but its damage is being nerfed, but because now you can proc it again and again and again and again, that makes him stronger, obviously. So this will enable him to far more objective control, far more jungle clear speed. Jungle Zed, probably not. Maybe, probably not. Mid Zed, definitely getting stronger. Better jungles, better barons. Morgana, and she got the buff the least out of all these jungle people. She got buffed the least, but Morgana, I actually think this might make her viable. Now, Jungle Morgana was very, very fringe, but the thing was, I think it was more viable than these four, is in some people sometimes played it. Infrequently as hell. I don't think it even has 0.5% pick rate, but sometimes people played it. And I think that's definitely why I got buffed the least, was because Riot probably knows this is on the fringe of viability, the fringe of being a fringe pick, so to speak, and maybe this pushes it up there. I don't know. Moonstone got jackhammered, and I actually have an issue with this because I don't think enchanters are OP as a whole. As a class, I don't think they were OP. There's 60% healing debuffs and 50% shield debuffs in the game right now. I don't think Morgana was, or okay, I don't think enchanters were OP. This item was OP, but the class wasn't OP. Nerfing the class as a whole feels very unfair. So basically, Moonstone is healing for less, because remember, you don't start the game with Moonstone at level 1. So even though it healed for 50 at level 1, by the time you bought it, you were already at more than 50, right? So they nerfed the flat heal. Instead of the heal being increased over time in combat, you now get stacking healing and shielding power. Now, that means that this item on its own will now heal you for less, but your kit will heal you for more. But the thing is, they're also removing the ability haste to make it increase the heal. So in other words, you get more powerful abilities, but less of them. But also it heals for less. So it's just an overall pretty large nerf. Yeah, and I don't think the class... Once again, the item was overpowered, but the class wasn't. Trillia's Battle Song. Instead of adding damage to your champions around you when you activate it, on the next 3 attacks or spells, you now give people movement speed whenever you empower, which I believe is healing and shielding, or buffing, or anything like that, really. If you do that, both of you get 25% movement speed. The passive is being changed from movement speed to ability haste. Overall, this does definitely buff this item. I mean, rereading it again, it definitely does feel like it makes it a lot stronger. Because, like, if I'm playing a Janna and I have this item and I shield an ally, well, now they go zoom zoom and I go zoom zoom. And that's probably better than the active being strong. Because right now, the active is pretty strong because it buffs everyone's movement speed, then gives everyone damage. It'll still buff everyone's movement speed. They're removing the damage, but now when you don't have the active, it's going to be a lot stronger. And I think ability haste is far more impactful than movement speed, especially because you're getting movement speed anyway here, right? So overall, I think that this is a pretty large buff. Probably doesn't make it as good as Moonstone used to be, so this is still a nerf to enchanters. Staff of Flowing Water, instead of granting movement speed and ability power, will now grant ability haste and ability power. They're basically trying to hyper-focus this item on buffing mages, potentially trying to push more mages in bot lane? I don't know, but at the very least, it definitely focuses it on buffing mages, or at the very least, on ability-based EDCs, maybe with AP ratios. I don't think it's that big of a deal. 20 abilities is probably worth 15% movement speed. Even on an AD carry, I think it's probably worth about as much. It just makes it better on mages. It's a weird change. I don't think it really makes the item any weaker. Frozen Heart is still a crap item. It only gives armor, but then it buffs your damage. You take less damage when you have more health, but there's practically no health in the game on items anymore. But it doesn't give health, but then reduces your damage based on your health. And just what? I'm sorry, what? What am I reading? Anyway, yeah, that's why the item hasn't been very good. Buffing its armor repeatedly. I mean, okay, so now it's up to 80 armor. Maybe finally it's been stat high enough that it's good. But there's very little health in the game, and not having health on a tank item feels pretty crap. Tanks don't typically have high base HP. There's 2 tanks who can get really good HP. Well, actually 3. There's Cho'Gath and Scion and Ornn, and it's just those 3 to my, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, right? But tanks typically like items with health because they can't really get health on items anymore. You know, gone are the days from being able to get Warmogs and Deadmans and then, you know, being able to get a Frozen Heart after that because you have enough HP. Warmogs is not good right now. Deadmans is down to 400 HP. Even Sunfire is down to 350 HP. So basically, Chemtank Purifier, Putrefier. Okay. Its AP is going up 1. The item is being changed. Instead of being able to get the 60% healing debuff by healing yourself, you now must heal an ally. So you can't build Putrefier on, say, Vladimir, Q someone, get the heal, and then healing debuff people, okay? In return, it's going up in ability power, and if you shield an ally, it now gives both of you the 60% debuff when you hit someone. So overall, it's just getting buffed. I'm honestly not sure why. I know Boots of Lucidity. So this one has, I'll explain this a little one for those of you guys who don't understand fully. So the cost going from 900 to 950, this item's overpowered, right? So this is an overall nerf to the early game and an early game item, which is impactful, correct? But the big thing they're doing here is by increasing it by 50 gold, they're actually putting it outside of the threshold for a lot of junglers who would do a big clear, go back and buy this item. When they're increasing it by 50 gold, a large amount of what they're doing is putting it outside of the threshold for those junglers to be able to buy, which is actually in many ways a nerf to the jungle more than other lanes. And definitely, I mean, you can even see they're definitely calling out junglers. So this is a good nerf. This is actually one of the few times that I think Riot directly targeted an OP aspect of the game and gave it a correct nerf, directly hitting what was making it too good. Now, this item was too good overall, you know, even on mid laners, top laners, even a lot of, in fact, every support. So this item was definitely needing a nerf, but the nerf they did definitely targeted that it was too good early game, and it definitely targets junglers who were clearing into a back, buying this, and clearing again. Pearl Belt is losing HP and gaining Magic Pen. I don't think this is a good idea. There's so much Magic Pen already in the game, I'm not sure that there needed to be more. A large nerf on Titanic Hydra. Why? Because Urgot was overpowered. So this item is now basically worthless on everyone because Urgot was overpowered. That's really all I have to say. Thanks, Riot. Thank you. Didn't they say they were buffing top lane items? And here we are nerfing Titanic Hydra. Okay, cool. Awesome. Dumb. I actually wrote down what... ha 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 ha. Okay, so the notable bug fixes. Trundle's W, his Frozen Domain, will now increase the healing received from Omnivamp, which means basically Ravenous Hydra. Not that big a change, but I'm just doing notable changes. So if you're Trundle, and I guess if you go Ravenous Hunter or you grab Ravenous Hydra, you'll heal for more now. Not that big a deal, but again, it affects things, so maybe. Iron Spike Whip, Gore Drinker, and Stridebreaker will now remove spell shields. This one's a little bit more notable, especially because Sivir is kind of popular right now. This one actually changes some things. Being able to use these items to remove a spell shield, yeah, that changes things. This one, probably the least impactful, but Knight's Vow Sacrifice passive now properly redirects damage from allied pledged champions to the user even when they're untargetable. So if you had Knight's Vow and you Hourglassed, you'll keep redirecting the damage to yourself. Not really that impactful, but it might have affected some things sometimes. And again, I'm just listing changes that will change things at all. Basically, things that just do stuff. And that's it for the patch. So the biggest changes are Titanic Hydra basically got butchered on everyone but Scion. I'll try to explain it, I guess. It went from 1% maximum health to 2% bonus health. So you would need as much bonus health as you have maximum health. And let's say the average is 2,000. Nobody gets 2,000 health from items and runes. Nobody. You got Scion and Cho'Gath. That's basically it. Cho'Gath isn't building this item, so only Scion can actually call this a net neutral change at all. For literally everyone, it's a nerf. On Shen, it's a nerf. You can't get 2,000 health from items. Maybe if you had Overgrowth and Grasping and Dying and you just stacked pure health items, you could get close at level 18, but that's just stupid. The biggest changes are the Moonstone Renewer. Enchanters might be underpowered now. The Zac change. Actually, I think this, I don't, like, as I said earlier, I don't think it's going to push him too much, but it's kind of impactful because even if he goes from being a low pick rate champion to being a seldomly picked champion, he definitely, the people that mean him will do a lot better. The Orc change, very impactful. This one here especially, Maiden not being targeted until all minions are dead, very impactful, very impactful. Vlad change, huge buff, huge buff. I'm expecting Vlad back in top lane as a default pick. This is such a huge change to reduce the cooldown from 5 to 4 on the main nuke. If he plays safe into scaling, this will be so big. Thresh will probably bring him down a little bit, but I'm gonna be honest, I just don't see it being that big. Rumble top might now be a good counter pick. In fact, I mean, I highly suspect if people pick tanks, we will see Rumble top as a counter pick. Rammus change. This is big because I mean it is an update, right? So this is a big change. Rammus being better in team fights is pretty impactful. Once again, that's a pretty large change. Orianna nerf, probably will see her less in pro play. Lee Sin change doesn't really impress me that much. Leblanc change, 20 more damage to a rank 1 ability? Big change. Gnar change, this one's actually big. I don't think I actually said how big this is. This is a big one because making a safe first pick far less safe in the early game. They're nerfing exactly why people were picking him so much. Mundo, will Mundo top be back? Probably not. Will Mundo jungle be healthier? Yeah, probably. I think it might have went a bit too far, nerfing his Q from 300 max damage to 100 max damage. That definitely does feel impactful. Maybe, possibly Mundo top comes back. I doubt it, but at least his jungle will be healthier because it won't be such an unsafe clear that relies on your opponents not punching you. That's something. This will probably push Apheliosis back into being pro pick viable. This will not really do very much. And that's it. That's the patch. So thank you everyone for watching. That was patch 11.8. I hope at the very least I did this in a way that those of you who don't really want to look at patch notes from like a pro play perspective, but rather just want to know what's happening, I'm hoping that you people can watch this. And I'm sorry I overslept and I couldn't make this edited, but I do need to get it out quickly. The problem is that if I don't put it out quickly, everyone's just going to read the patch notes from other people. So I figured a nice compromise would be to write for myself, like just sort of write this, go over what the changes are. And I don't think I did it perfectly. You know, once again, I'm getting better. Hopefully I'm getting better. So basically my aim is to basically kind of make this a patch notes for dummies, aimed more at like the silver to platinum level players who kind of, they know the game for the most part, but they're not that interested in reading the patch notes, and they don't know every champion, but they're kind of interested in knowing what's going on. So those of you guys, those people who watch this, hopefully you guys can watch this and appreciate this. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't give you guys, you know, the more edited videos because I think you guys definitely like seeing from that perspective, but thank you. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Thank you everyone. Once again, I just really appreciate everyone who watches. Thank you everybody. Goodbye.